I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers. Class is officially back in session, and we are here for yet again another guest speaker episode, just pumping these out lately. And this one's a little bit interesting, though, a little bit different. We actually are going away from the Boston music scene a little bit, and we are actually going into the Atlanta underground music scene. And I am so excited to have Young Mono, as he's repping his Hawks uniform. All right, yeah, rep your Atlanta, Young Mono.
Yes, sir.
The Celtics are still in the bubble, okay? All right.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I don't think we made it there.
I don't know. I don't know for how much longer they'll be there, but we'll see. But Young Mono, hip hop artist from Atlanta. I am so glad to have you on this episode, man. How you doing today?
Oh man, I'm glad to be here. I'm doing great. The usual. Awesome. Daily grind.
Awesome, man. No, it's like I said, I'm really glad we're able to do this. Shout out Heath 240, who, if fans of us know, like, he's our boy. He's the one that kind of got us a little bit in touch, because I noticed he was a feature on your brand new album called Self Made Degenerate, which you just came out with it was last month, correct? It was in July?
Yep, it was in July, end of July.
Yeah, so he was featured on that. The song called Lies, one of my favorite songs on that whole album. Whole album's great, guys. Definitely go check it out. We will link it here in the description for sure. So make sure you go check that out. That is out on all streaming services, Spotify, Apple, SoundCloud, wherever you get your music. Make sure you check that out. So I guess that's a great place to start, is with your album. So talk to me a little bit about this project, really maybe the sound or the process, the meaning behind it. I know it's just kind of, you really touched on in your music and in your lyrics, specifically on this album. You talked a lot about kind of things that are going on right now, whether it's, potentially things with police brutality, or also with, like, the coronavirus just in general. So you really kind of weren't afraid to touch on subjects that, a lot of people are really feeling strongly about, and also, being deeply affected by. So I was kind of curious as to kind of what your angle was in terms of the album.
So for this one, I wanted to touch a lot of stuff, like you said. I started writing a lot of this stuff during quarantine while I was furloughed off work and stuff. So I was just at home chilling for the most part. And so and then a lot more stuff started happening around. So I had more and more stuff to write about. But the Self Made Degenerate part, it actually came from hanging out with one of my buddies, and he was just like, "Oh man, you're a degenerate." And I was like, "Yeah, self made." And then we kind of that would be kind of a dope album name. And so we that was the start of that, and this was probably last year when that happened, but I hadn't done anything with it since then. And so I started writing songs. I did the quarantine song, which is the first song I knew that I was going to put on it. And obviously I wrote that during quarantine, and pretty much just I was going nuts, just being at home all the time. I'm a pretty outgoing person. I like to go out and see my friends and stuff, but I couldn't. So, and then in the quarantine remix that's on the album, is when stuff kind of started happening, with the George Floyd and all those situations. That's when I was like, okay, I can't I know I don't have much of a platform to talk about it, but I want to use the platform that I do have to kind of address it, and how I was feeling towards it. So that's kind of where that came from. I like to do a lot of different styles too. Cause I have through a couple R&B songs type in there, a couple trap, and then more on the lyrical side, and then the country songs are always fun to make. But yeah, I just wanted to be myself on it, kind of just show how I'm that self-made degenerate to a T,
Absolutely. I do feel in this project, your personality totally does come through. That is I think the selling point of it, really. Even if you're not somebody that loves trap-based music, I think it might be something on here for everyone, because like I said, I won't lie to you, I didn't love every track on this, but just based on my listening, but there were still many, many tracks on here that I took away that I really, really enjoyed. And I agree that I definitely think that you did a really nice job of bringing in a lot of different sounds. You brought in, like I said, kind of the trap sound that we've heard from, you know, just a lot of that has come from the South. Really, the South kind of, you know, bred that sound for a long time. And then I even heard, like, the one song that I definitely want to talk about is Tom Brady,
Yeah.
obviously. And I thought that, like, on that song specifically, you brought it like almost like a Lil Nas X type track with like
Yeah.
the hip hop scene. So first of all, it's nice to know that someone from Atlanta isn't that, and that, not to bring up sports again, isn't that mad at Tom Brady to the point where he'd make a song about it. But in terms of like I want to talk more about the sound of it though. So, you know, is that a sound that is really prominent in the South right now in the underground scene, like this country hip hop blend, or do you think it's something that it has staying power potentially?
I honestly think it does have staying power. Like I remember probably the first like hip hop country song I heard was I think it was like Lil Nas and Tracy made a song called Like a Farmer, and this was like before, like probably 2 3 years before Lil Nas came out. Um, that's like the first I heard of it, and this is like probably like maybe a year before I started making music. I was like, oh, this is neat. And then Lil Nas came out, and then like blew the wall off of it. And but I haven't really seen too many people out of Atlanta doing it, like outside of Lil Nas and like Blanco Brown, who did the Get Up song. So I've been kind of like trying to play off like both of those styles, like while keeping it to myself, like with my own personal like flows and stuff. Um, but yeah, like I think it's a neat like collaboration. Like it's two like polar opposite things almost. It seems like
Mm.
that like kind of come together and just make like a banger. It feels like.
Yeah, you wouldn't, again, like you wouldn't expect these two to come in. Although I will say this, I feel like Nelly tried it a little bit, you know, like years,
Yeah,
like early 2000s. I feel like he tried it, and I thought at the time, I mean, maybe I'm being naive, but I thought it was pretty well received. And then I feel like, I mean, again, I could be wrong and just like not well informed on this, but I feel like nobody really did it for a while, unless people were doing it in the underground. I just didn't know. That's kind of why I asked you the question, because I wasn't sure
yeah,
if this is a sound that's super prominent in the, you know, and just the southern part of the country, if that's like a prominent sound. Because again, I'm not super familiar with the underground scenes in Atlanta and places like that. But it's just interesting to almost see how some of these trends come back a little bit. Because and not saying that, you know, that Lil Nas bit Nelly by any stretch of the imagination,
yeah.
but it's just funny that, you know, Country Grammar almost 20 years ago, and then Lil Nas comes out with probably the biggest song of the like one of the biggest songs of the decade. Regardless of where you are at, whether you like it or dislike it, I can't really argue how big it was and how huge it got. You know?
Cause yeah, Lil Nas, I don't even like. It came out of nowhere. Like I love the song, don't get me wrong, but it just kind of like happened. I know I didn't even know what a TikTok was when like it blew up on it, and then I was hearing it all over the radio, and then Rodeo came out, and I was just like, dude, he's like crushing it right now. Like I don't see why I shouldn't try to like dip myself into like that kind of genre and like that spectrum of like hip hop.
I know I'm biased because of the name, but I actually messed
Yeah.
with it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was catchy. I enjoy it for sure. Is country music a genre that you enjoy?
Certain songs and like certain artists, like I like the if I had to like absolutely had to listen to country, it would have to be like the up tempo, like Florida Georgia Line type music. Like I can't really do too much like the emotional like Luke Bryan songs and stuff like that, just because like I kind of listen to music as an escape. So like I don't want to like get in my feelings like when he's talking about like how his dog got ran over by a tractor or something. Like I can't really vibe too well with it, you know?
I understand that. I get
Yeah,
that. No, I mean, yeah, I think that's a good point. Like some people use music as an escape for like they don't want to be like emotional with the music. They want like something to get up. So I feel like that's what you're saying. But other people, you know, they might like sappier, sad music because maybe they're able to resonate with it a little better and they don't feel as alone.
yeah,
Right? So it's just it's so interesting and unique. I always love when I talk to people what they use music for. You know what I mean? I think everybody has a different answer for that. I think there's some overlap. There's not necessarily not the case, but I love hearing like people's, you know, what they how they feel about music and how they utilize it. So another question I had for you in regards to the album, I think one of the main key things about you that I noticed right away was your use of punchlines and how just kind of ear grabbing that a lot of your punchlines are. I think that you as a rapper are you, like I said a little bit earlier in this episode, your personality does come out. But then, like I said, you aren't afraid to talk about some deeper things. And I know that, you know, Atlanta is a spot right now for, you know, like obviously your mayor, Keisha Bottoms, has been a huge advocate for a lot of things going on right now. Killer Mike and T.I. are all over the state and the city, just trying to raise awareness for, you know, the things that are occurring right now in the Black Lives Matter movement and all that stuff. So did it mean something for you to, even though I know you said your platform is smaller, and, you know, we talked about it as well. We had many times where we spoke about it on our show, and despite, like you said, I know our platforms aren't huge, but did you kind of feel an obligation to talk about it because it's so prominent right now, and so some of the larger figures in Atlanta are talking about it? Or is it just something that you're passionate about, or maybe is it a mix of both?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's a mix of both, because one thing I saw a sign driving down the street one day that said silence is compliance. And so like I felt like for my friends, like I had a lot of friends that like weren't saying anything about it. And I'm like, yo, like, and being like, I wouldn't say necessarily like the token black dude in like my friend group, but like I would like a majority of my friends are white. And I would like see like during the whole Blackout Tuesday thing, I was like noticing, like I was like, oh, I haven't seen so and so post about this. And so I was like, yo, this is kind of weird. Like what are they thinking about it? And so like then I'd have other friends, like I've probably blocked like maybe 500 people on Facebook, probably not 500, but like just for the simple fact that they're like, instead of saying like, yo, like we stand with you, or like Black Lives Matter, they're like Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, like stuff like that. It kind of like wigged me out a little bit. So pretty much I was using that as like uh method to get to like my friends and stuff. Like, so I know like a lot of my friends listen to my music, so like I want them to hear how I'm thinking about it. And maybe they can go to their family about it, and they can explain to their parents like, yo, like the way you're thinking about this isn't like necessarily like the right way, and like we shouldn't be doing this, like we should support this and that. But, like, I mean, it's only so much you can do. Like, it's more so like how they're raised and how their parents are raised and how their parents are raised, and it kind of just trickles down into what we have today.
Well, one thing I wanted to note that what you said, because it seems as though like it feels like, maybe I'm wrong in saying this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but was it almost easier to put it in a song and be like, here, listen to this, and sort of, you, instead of having the conversation a little bit? Is that?
100%, yeah.
Yeah. And then that, like you said, it's a kind of a way, a good outlet for you as well to kind of express how you're feeling about it. And, you know, it's interesting because what you're saying. And I think that even though, as you said, you know, your platform is not the biggest, but it is worthy to note though, that you do have a platform. And even if you do change, I don't even say change, because I don't really want to like, when I, you know, when I've talked about it with my friends, or, you know, when I've talked about it on this show, I don't know if I'm necessarily looking to change people's minds about anything, like in terms of political stuff or anything like that. I'm just more so, like you're saying, just getting some of these stories out there and having people just think a little bit more, and be a little bit more empathetic and mindful. And just, I think the biggest thing is understanding that, you know, even if you haven't personally experienced something, doesn't make it not real, and that it doesn't happen, right? Like, I think oftentimes we get caught up in our own world, and we think, you know, our experiences are all experiences, and it's just, and that doesn't make somebody inherently a bad person, but they need to recognize that other experiences exist. But then when it's put in front of them, if they still want to, you know, not admit it, or they want to come up with some excuse for it, that's when I tend to pause. But hearing your album, you not like, you weren't like, it didn't come from a place that felt like angry or like ill-informed, and I really appreciated that,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah, I've been doing a good bit of research on it since like all the stuff happened. Like, there's like stories that saying this and that about everything that's going on. Like, there's always like seems to be a second side of the story that comes out once it goes up, like blows up. But I mean, like at the same time, like it still isn't right, you know. So I mean, like that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. They're like, oh, like, because there's a guy that got killed down here at a Wendy's or something like that. In the drive-thru, like he had passed out or something in his car, and the cops pulled up, and like, granted, the guy grabbed the cop's taser and like aimed it at him or something. Like, I don't know what the whole situation was, but then like the cop shot him. So I'm like, oh, I think it was at that point, if the taser's in another person's hand, then it's considered a lethal weapon. And so it's like it was justified too at a certain extent, but at the same time, like they would it have been the same way had it been someone else?
True. I think you're right. It's important to recognize each individual, thing or these instance for what it is. But again, like I said, I feel like, and again, I think you'd probably agree that we've seen this enough that it's like, all right, there's so many instances of it out there that it's happened. And again, I'm not sitting here saying like, I don't want people to misconstrue my words that, I'm saying that all police are racist or that, that's not what I'm arguing. It's that, or that, white people aren't killed by the cops, but we have to admit that this is a problem and we need to fix it. And I agree. I think that, I mean, the Blackout Tuesday thing, I think it was what it was meant for is to just take a pause, not on, not on the issues, but like on what we're doing day to day, and
Yeah,
just, hey, I stand, like you're saying, I stand with you. And I think that's all it, we're not asking of people to like regular people to change these issues. It's not up to us in a sense. It is to continue to create awareness for it. But, it is up to us though, to we can at least sit here and say, hey, we stand together. We're with you. We're behind you. And we recognize that this is not okay.
yeah.
That goes a long way, I think,
Oh, for sure.
So I actually appreciate you having this conversation with me. It
Oh
really
yeah, no problem.
a lot.
It's
And
a conversation that should have been had like a long time ago with a lot of people, you know.
yeah, I mean, I think it was tried to be had for a long time. I think somebody like for example, Killer Mike. I think Killer Mike's been an advocate for this for a really, really, really long time. And
Yeah.
it's like I said, we talked about this too, the J. Cole and No Name situation. I feel like in No Name's, I mean, defense, she's definitely excited now. I think, and it's not excited, maybe the wrong word, but she sees the urgency that like people recognized it, and she
Hmm.
wanted more people to talk about it, and rightfully so. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think a lot of these things, like I was saying a little earlier, I think it should be dealt with a little more empathy and understanding each other. You know what I mean? That's really listening. I've been trying to do a lot of that lately. Is like, and like you're saying, like listening, learning, taking everything in, and then talking. Not just talking to talk. You
Yeah.
know, it's important. But I definitely want to transition a little bit. Speaking of Atlanta, I want to talk to me a little bit about just the underground scene there in general. It doesn't have to necessarily be hip hop, but tell me a little bit about the buzz is like with the underground music scene as a whole in Atlanta.
Well, the underground music scene in Atlanta is huge. It's so many different like genres that are down there too that are like it's kind of a breeding ground. So like, there's a venue down here called the Masquerade. It has like I think three different stages, but it's in like one building pretty much. And there's Heaven, which is the biggest one, Hell second biggest, and then Purgatory. And Purgatory is kind of where like you get the underground artists, and then like Hell is like the bigger underground artists, and Heaven is like where you get like the big name people like different bands and stuff. And it's predominantly like for like rock music, but I actually performed there at Purgatory right before the lockdown started. But it's huge. Like the rock scene in Atlanta is growing, always growing. Like there's always bands popping up left and right. Like I have friends that are in bands or that were in bands that are trying to start bands now. And then there's like the EDM scene in Atlanta is getting even bigger because there's more venues popping up here and there. Um, and then hip hop's always going to be huge in Atlanta, just because of like just that old South, like the like Gucci's and like the throwback like Ti and like Killer Mike, like Outkast and all that stuff. Like it's always going to be like that need for like hip hop in Atlanta. I feel like especially in the underground scene.
Sure. Of course. I mean, yeah, like hip hop, I think a lot of ways there were so many influences. I mean, that's to believe it or not, Outkast, it's on my wall.
Yeah.
They're the like the entity that got me into hip hop. Like if not for Outkast, I mean, I probably would have gotten into hip hop, but like that was my entry point because
Yeah.
like when I was hearing songs like Hey Ya and The Way You Move, when I know you and I are the same age, we're both 26. Sorry to give you, if you know,
Oh, yeah.
some people are weird about the age. So with Outkast, particularly when I heard like The Way You Move and Hey Ya, it was interesting because I was like, they're pulling from some of like the soul and jazz like influences that like my mom was playing, like, like, I mean, I'm not saying that this necessarily was influenced here, but like, people like Marvin Gaye and Kenny G and Ray Charles, and just like some of the soul, like I said, soul and jazz, Luther Vandross, right? Some of the stuff that my mom was playing when I was growing up. It was interesting to hear Outkast take that spin on it. And then when I heard the Speakerbox Love Below, it's like everything I knew about music changed like from there.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then I went back, did my due diligence with Outkast, like went way back to like Southern Playlistic Cat like music and through. But, over the years, I've just realized, like, I mean, Atlanta is very influential when it comes to music. I mean, I know in hip hop for sure, it's interesting to hear other genres. I feel like other genres get very much pushed to the, not so much, they're pushed in the background when it comes to hip hop in Atlanta. Maybe that's, and at least that's just looking at it from a national perspective. Again, in probably Atlanta, it's probably different, but
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree with that. Hip hop's definitely the biggest. Like, you get like, there's hip hop concerts in every venue we have down here. Like, the Coca-Cola Roxy was just popped up a couple years ago. They just had like Dolph and Key Glock playing there a couple or a few months ago, and then like it's just like here and there. Like, who's at the Masquerade? There's an artist, Josiah. It's like a screamo rap, like collab type thing, like kind of like how X does some of his music or did some of his music. Um, but it's just like here and there, like there's always gonna be that like hip hop is like not like first priority, but like that's gonna be the selling point of a lot of stuff.
now you mentioned a lot, you're talking to me a lot about like venues and things like that, and that you're big into performing. So, I guess that's my question. Like, are you someone that really enjoys performing? And obviously, if so, it's something you're missing. And I actually forgot to ask you what your favorite song off Self Made Degenerate is, because I also feel like that album would be really, you could probably perform a lot of those songs and they would smack. So
Yeah.
two questions here, I guess, is talk to me a little about performing. Is that something you were really into, and do you miss it? If so, and also like, what's your favorite song off Self Made Degenerate? What would be the best performance on Self Made Degenerate in your opinion? Once we can finally hit shows again.
Yeah. So shit, performing is definitely my favorite part about doing music. Like I love the whole process behind writing and then like listening to beats, like finding beats and stuff. Like as exhausting as it seems, it's like a very like crucial part of me. Because like if I don't vibe well with the beat, like because my producer D3 does a really good job of like shooting me stuff. He's like, what do you think about this? What kind of change if you don't like it? Like this and that. And then my brother is also a producer. He actually used to produce for D4L back in the day. He produced Laffy Taffy. My brother produced that. Yeah.
Stop that. You're lying.
I swear. You can look it up. Richard Sims Jr. Yeah, that's my brother.
Damn. All right, so you got it in your blood. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
I fuck with that. That's awesome. I remember this song has not aged well, but that was a banger at the time.
Yeah.
Let's not even play.
Yeah. It's still like blowing up on TikTok. Like out of nowhere. Like I guess that's a new thing now. It's taking like stuff from our generation and blowing it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, he like everyone kind of knows like what my styles are. And they're like, you think you can do something with this? Like normally I'll be straight up with them. Like I don't know if I can like vibe with that. Give me a couple weeks. Like let me listen to it and see if I can do anything with it. And I've had like a bunch of producers coming to me. I actually met one, a producer through lacrosse, like playing against him at UNC Charlotte, and he sent me a beat, and it was actually the beat for Gucci Swim Trunks, that song. Okay. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of hype. Like, let me keep it. And but I would probably say my favorite song off the album, it's got to be between Bars or Us with me and my boy Wayne, and I'm just gonna go Quarantine because I love that song. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna switch to Earnhardt Jr. because that song was so much fun to make.
So you think those would be the best to be performed as well?
100%. I think Earnhardt Jr. would be one that get the crowd super involved just because it's so upbeat and then like it's a lot of fun. Like even when I was listening to it, like my brother sent me the beat and I was like, oh snap, like this is kind of hype.
Yeah.
But like even before then, like I'm pretty sure I wrote that song that day. The day I got the beat, like it was no like buffering point. It was just like, all right, I'm at a car dealership. Let me start writing right now. I got the time. A close like something I would put up there would probably be "Summertime" with Sad Boys, like the EDM song I have. Like I met them through a Twitch stream with this DJ Cap Slap. I forget where he's from, but I listened to him like all through high school and stuff. And he started doing these streams during quarantine, and he was like, "Yo, send your music in, send your music in." So I was like, he would do feedbacks, and I sent some songs in, and then Sad Boys was like, hit me up on Instagram, like, "Yo, like, you want to collab on something?" I was like, completely here for it. Like, why not?
Isn't that amazing? The power of the internet to
It
just
really is, yeah.
crazy. It's like, and obviously, power of the internet is why you and I are sitting here right
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
It's a beautiful thing in a lot of ways. I know there's a lot of, negatives to the internet. Obviously, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, but obviously that is a great thing that you're able to, and then you have that memory now for the rest of your life, which is super cool.
Exactly.
You can probably perform. So last question on this topic here. What was like your favorite performance from your career so far that you can kind of remember off the top of your head that is there any like moment or performance that stands out to you by any stretch?
Um, there's two. So it was my first performance ever and my most recent, which was the one at the Masquerade that I had. Because the one at the Masquerade, I think it was my first paid gig. And I got a message on Facebook from a guy that does like all the local talent in Atlanta or Georgia for that matter. And he was like, "Yo, like I know you want to perform at Masquerade, like send some of your stuff in, like for this dude." And so I was like, "All right, yeah, sure, whatever." Sent him my stuff, and then I was like, "Yo, like what's going on with it?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, like they went to decide to go with someone else." A couple weeks passed by, and then he's like, "Yo, do you want me to submit you for this?" And I was like, "Yeah, like of course, like why not?" And emails me the next day. He's like, "Okay, here's what you got to do at check-in. Like, here's how many tickets you have. Like this and that. If you need more, come to this place." I was like, "Wait, whoa, whoa!" So I got it, and he was like, "Yeah, like I wouldn't be telling you this if you didn't." And it was just like the preparation behind it, and because this was right before quarantine started, so I was wigging if I was gonna be able to perform it or not. Um, and so the preparation behind it, like running laps around, like trying to get my breath in, like all while having like lacrosse practice and stuff. And I finally got to the show. Like I ended up selling like 50 tickets or something, sold more than the headliner because it was at the smaller venue. So I was like, yeah, this is hype. And so I went on stage. There's a couple other Atlanta artists out. I think my boy Beauregard was there, and it was hype. I started off with like an older song, first song I ever made. "I'm the Man Now," which is on that like Mr. Krabs like robot beat. Um, and then ended it with "Whoa," which is probably like my favorite song performed, just because it's like so hype, and like that's the song that kind of like gave me that segue to like the slight bit of like clout I have down here now. Um, yeah, that would definitely probably be my favorite one.
Awesome. That's great, man. And so, as a like, I just want to say, like, I think I'm as a fan, really just that's been the biggest problem for me in terms of like this whole thing is to not be able to go to live shows. Like, it's
For
really
sure.
difficult. I'm sure it's so difficult for the artists. Like, don't get me wrong, because I know it's a lot. It's it's difficult for you guys in terms of like monetarily, and not only that, but just like you're saying, as a place to connect with fans, because it's every artist I've talked to, and I get it, because when I go to shows as, Mike from the Turntable Teachers and trying to network, it's just easier you create such better relationships. And I feel like I've created such better relationships when I network at shows rather than up in this area, in the Boston area, rather than when I network online. You know what I mean? It's just, there's a different feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you can like really like visibly see that you're making a connection with somebody in the audience, and that you talk to them afterwards or whatever, or they buy a piece of your merch or whatever it is, or they just follow you on Spotify, like right in front of you. Like there must be something different than that, than just getting a new follower on Instagram.
Yeah.
So you did mention also, you mentioned a couple times, I definitely want to segue here, that you're not only a lacrosse player, but you also coach lacrosse, which I think is super cool because I coach basketball. So talk to me a little bit about your coaching. Like, what does that mean? I know we're not really getting off the music topics, but in terms of as a coach, what is, talk to me a little bit about the differences in coaching and being a player. Cause I always like talking to coaches about this. So what are like some potential like glaring differences and similarities between like your approach as a player and your approach as a coach?
All right, so my approach as a player is definitely like, I wouldn't say I'm like a hard-headed player, but like I kind of like know one way to do things and I try to keep it that way. Whereas like as a coach, I'm like, yo, like you gotta open your mind to this and that. So like I can completely see like the irony in it, but I'd much rather play than coach. But like I still like coaching a lot. Like I coach in a organization down here, OB3 Thunder, and I've been coaching with them for like maybe 4 years. And before that, I was coaching like high school JV teams and stuff. So it's been like it's been something. Like I love coaching, but I definitely much rather play.
I know it's crazy though, because I feel the same way. I'd rather play, but you know, our body. You know, I don't know about you. Like you're probably you're in good enough shape. You're on a
Oh, my knees are gone now. Yeah.
right as you get older, bro. Like it just hurts, right? Like
Oh
this
yeah.
after I ball, I'm just like I still play, like I still play pickup, but I play and I'm just like that's why is my T band hurting me and why is my hip bothering me? It's like this random like little aches and pains that just never used to be here when I was a player. I
Yeah.
think coaching's a cool way to stay in the game. You know what I mean? If you're that passionate, because I'm that passionate about hoops, and I know it sounds to me like you're passionate about lacrosse,
Yeah.
which is awesome. I know. Listen, I'm glad you wore a basketball jersey to this.
Yeah. I almost threw my jersey on.
No, I'm glad you put it on. That's awesome. Even if it's a Hawks jersey, I'm just glad.
Yeah.
But no, so I just think there's such a different mentality when it comes to coaching, right? Because it's more about your lesson. It's all as a player, obviously, like you're for the team and things like that. But you are as a player, there's always that little bit of inside your head where you're like, I'm worried about how I'm gonna play. You're right. There's all. Whereas you're coaching, you're so focused on everything and everybody, right?
Yeah.
So there's definitely, I just always like to see that, if you would rather coach or play. Because some people would rather coach, you know what I mean? Because they're not as good of a player, but it just is what it is, or they're not as. But I'm curious if there's anything that, because I think that coaching is a great way to give back, right? And that's clearly what you're doing. And I love to hear that lacrosse is becoming a little bit bigger in your area. You were telling me a little bit off air about how you only had like maybe 60 teams in the entire state. Now it goes up to like 200 plus. So, I mean, is maybe not just lacrosse, maybe sport. This could be a question for sports in general, but like, is there some sort of pride with it since you're a player, just to see lacrosse like beginning to be a bigger thing down south?
I do take a lot of pride in it, but also a lot of jealousy because I wish it was that big when I was in high school and stuff. Um, but yeah, it's been like neat seeing like kids like from my high school go like division, like NCAA Division 1, like Division 2 and stuff. Like I went Division 2 right out of high school and like it wasn't for me. But then like I have like for like kids that I coach actually end up going to like these Division 2 and Division 1 schools all over the country and stuff. Like I actually played against a kid I coached 2 seasons ago.
That's
Which is it was pretty weird. Like I was like trash talking him on the field, and he was like, "Coach, like chill." And I was like, "I'm not your coach anymore."
I love it.
Yeah, it's been fun like seeing that growth come down here. Because it's been like a lot of expansions and stuff. Like especially with like professional leagues and stuff. Like we've had 2 teams, and then like there's this thing called the PLL, a Premier Lacrosse League, that it it's pretty much like tour based, except for this year because they had to do a bubble because of COVID. But last year it was tour based, so they had stops in like Atlanta and Texas and like California, like New York and stuff. So it was kind of just going all over the place. I think the first game they played was at Gillette.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, Bill Belichick was there.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, lacrosse has been in the Northeast has been pretty big for a while. Like I was telling you a little bit off air, like it's definitely like my family, like I come from actually a family of lacrosse players, and definitely it was not something that I was able to pick up easily. So I stuck with the hoops, but it's definitely, like I said, it's definitely a big sport up here. It has been for like, actually I shouldn't say that. I feel like it has gotten bigger up here. I think it was a little bit more, there was more of a foundation up here, but I'm glad to see it, expand, because like we were saying off air, I think it's just important that, there's more outlets for kids now, right? So like you're able to put a lacrosse team in a high school, you know, it doesn't even have to be in Atlanta or Georgia. It can be anywhere, right? But if you're putting a lacrosse team, this is another outlet for a kid to potentially like either fall in love with or keep them, you know, occupied and focused on, you know, their school and their daily routines and behavior and all that stuff. So I just think it's like really great that it's becoming more mainstream down in the South. I think that's really important.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great. Do you find there's any? I'm curious too. This is my last question on this topic. If there's any like parallels that you have or you can think of in either playing or coaching lacrosse in terms of like making music. I know there's not many, but is there any like mental things that might potentially line up there or not really?
A lot actually. So when I play, I wouldn't say I'm the most orthodox player, but like I kind of like freestyle when I play. So like a lot of things that I do, I don't know I'm gonna do it until I do it. Um, and that's kind of the same with like rapping. Like the on Self Made Degenerate, the freestyle song, that was all freestyle, and I just kind of went in the booth and I was like, all right, let's just go. And which I kind of like. It's a lot of like mind workouts, it seems like, but like it kind of like yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand, just like the creativity behind it and stuff.
Yeah, definitely the creativity with as a coach. Actually, no, as a player too, because like you're trying to obviously figure out different ways to, in both cases, to potentially, you know, defeat an opponent. And I guess it's similar in the sense where like if you can get in that headspace in the booth, right, you're gonna kill the verse, even though there's nobody really like in front of you, but it's more
Yeah.
like you're battling yourself in a way. So it's interesting, and then in that right. So I was curious if there was any parallels, but that's just super cool, man. Young Mono, you've been incredible on this episode. I am so happy that we were able to talk with somebody down in the Atlanta scene. I hope that this is not only the last time we see you, but not only the last time that we talk to someone down in the underground Atlanta scene, because I think that I definitely want to have you send me some people that you like down there. Maybe that's actually a question right before my last question. Kind of going back, are there any like underground artists in the Georgia or Atlanta scene in general that you're really into or passionate about or think people should be listening to more, or anybody that up north we can check out?
I would say up north, definitely listen to He's 240. That's my boy.
Yes.
Gotta bump him. Down here, I have a homie Beauregard who's been making bangers, making waves. He has like this song that's like blowing up on TikTok right now, called Beyonce Knows, and it's just super hype. It's just a whole vibe. And my brother, of course, he's making music again. Goes under Cardo Wayne. Produces all his own beats, writes his own music, so he's super talented. He's definitely probably the most like musically inclined person in our family. Yeah, that's about it I can think of right now. My producer too, he's amazing. My boy Dave. Um, Trying to get him to start doing music, but he's actually he's at 9 on Lies. He's the last verse. That's my producer.
Oh, that's him. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know, because I like that. I mean, that's probably that is one of my favorite songs on the project. That and Quarantine are probably my two favorites. But that song definitely, and again, it's a little biased with Heath, but I definitely enjoyed that song as a whole, and I like that verse too from him specifically. So
Yeah.
you come in with this very, because for the first couple tracks, I'm like, all right, this is dope. Like I can mess with this, right? And then that song where you kind of pulled off like the melodic sort of hook and vibe there, I was just like, all right, I like this guy. He's check. We'll have him on the show. I'm
Yeah.
convinced, right? Oh, this is good, man. Yeah. So people up north, you guys should definitely check this man out for sure. The Self Made Degenerate. It is linked in the description, as I said, but you're not off the hook yet.
Oh.
Final question.
Okay.
Last question I ask everyone that comes on this show. I call it the dream song scenario. You get to create a song with anybody, dead or alive. All right, and I'll structure it for you. You get a hook. All right, so you get someone to do the hook or sing the hook or whatever, however you want that. You get a verse. You get 2 guest verses, and you get someone for production on the boards. And you can have a couple of different people if you want. You know, mix a few in if you don't want just one person on the production. So again, dream song scenario. You get a verse, 2 guest verses, hook, producer, dead or alive, can be anybody, can sound like anything you want. Give it as much time as you want to decide.
Right.
The floor is yours.
All right. So for producer, I'm definitely going with probably TM88. He makes some wavy beats. I love him. And then Hook, I'm going with I Love McConan.
Okay.
Uh, Probably a bit of a dark horse. He hasn't made anything in like a year, but like that's my boy. I've been listening to McConan for a minute. Um, Verse number one, I will go with Lil Uzi
Okay.
for sure. Gotta have the goat in there, and then probably a Travis Scott on the second.
Okay. All right. All right. So it's definitely going to be a trap vibe for sure.
Oh yeah, trap with a little like the trippy trap, as McConan would call it. I guess. Yeah.
It'll have a little melody with McConan on it, but it's going to
Yep.
be mostly, and Travis can probably like put some ad libs over that hook.
Exactly. A couple,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of those, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Hey, well, it's funny because we haven't had really a trap inspired song on one of these dream song scenarios, and I've always said like, you know, my biggest thing in the world would be to make all these songs happen. So if I had a hypothetical Turntable Teachers mixtape, this would be the trap song that would go in it. So it'll
For
work.
sure. Let's go.
I'm into it. Hell yeah. Too good. My man, that was great. Young Mono, check out this guy's stuff, guys. I'm telling you, he's really. Oh, by the way, I just want one more thing. I never been that big of a Uzi fan, and I gotta say, the new album I really liked. I reviewed it, and I was very on the channel here, and I was very pleasantly surprised at what I heard, because
Yeah.
I've been not into. If you can see my wall here, you probably can tell like what
Yeah.
type of music I am into. I'm into the more jazzy, soulful stuff.
Yeah.
I was impressed with Uzi, man. Is he that big down there? Like, is he really like seen as like the GOAT?
Well, to me, he is. Down here, the GOAT would probably be with depending on where you go, Future, Young Thug, like maybe Gucci.
Okay.
But in my eyes, like I just love like ever since like Love Is Rage, like the first one, I was like, yo, this dude's pretty dope. Like I think the first song I heard from him was All My Chains, and it was from then on. It was like I gotta listen to Lil Uzi from now on. And then I love Love Is Rage too. That was probably might be my favorite Uzi album, but Eternal Take is definitely fire. I would say.
Yeah, that's the Love Is Rage 2 is where he got my attention because he used a sample, or he definitely used a sample from Oh Wonder, which is
Yep.
like a lot, and then I had heard in the past. So I'm like, all right, Uzi. Okay. I'm like, I was very, like I said, very impressed, and also like was biting my tongue at it because I was like, you know what? He does have some musical talent, and I didn't give him credit for. And then Eternal Take came out, and I was like, okay, I see it now. Like I see the vision, and I understand it. And I actually enjoy it. I liked it a lot. I thought it was actually a really good project. There's still songs on that I go back to. So,
same.
Yeah, it's good. But yeah, so Young Mono featuring I Love McConan, Lil Uzi Vert, Travis Scott, produced by TM88. I think it would be a pretty dope track, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
I think so too. I hope so.
I think it would come together. I think it would.
Oh yeah.
People, Young Mono from Atlanta. My people up north, got to go check this guy out. All right. It is linked in the description. We will also link his Instagram in the description. I think, what are you on Instagram? Just Young Mono? Is that?
Yeah, Young Mono 1. Yep.
Mono 1. All right. Again, that'll be linked in the description, but you guys can also follow him at Young Mono 1. Go stream Self Made Degenerate. It is out now on all platforms. And once again, Young Mono, thank you so much for being here. This was brilliant. Really great episode. And I'm so excited, and best of luck with everything. We will certainly be in touch.
I appreciate you having me, man.
All
Had
right.
a lot of fun.
Me too. Definitely. I am Mike. This is Young Mono with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.
Turntable.